Hello, I'm Askar Shirliyev. You're watching news from Kazakhstan. President Nazarbayev conducts personnel reshuffle in the government and reorganizes the work of several agencies and departments. The new Ministry of Regional Development was created on Wednesday. It is now headed by Bakhtjan Sagintayev, former first deputy chairman of ruling Nuratan political party. Sagintayev was also appointed as vice prime minister.
Meanwhile, Kambek Kushurbayev, former head of Mangistar region who resigned following the Janauzian riots, has lost the position of deputy prime minister. Darkhan Manbayev was dismissed from the position of Minister of Culture and Information as well, taking the director's chair at the National Museum. The former Secretary of State Mukhtar Kul Mohammed is now back in the ranks of ministers, replaced by Marat Tajan, who previously headed the Security Council and served as the president's assistant. Nazarbayev has also dismissed the head of the president's security service Anwar Sadikulov due to his transfer to another job. Sports Minister Talkhat Yermegiyayev was made the chairman of a new national company, Astana Expo 2017. In addition, the Ministry of Economic Development was transformed into the Ministry of Economy and Budget Planning, now headed by Yerbalat Dosayev, who previously chaired the Ministry of Economic Development and Trade. Based on the presidential decree, the Agency for Construction, Housing and Communal Services as well as the Agency for Land Management were also reorganized, becoming subordinates of the new Ministry of Regional Development. The Agency on Atomic Energy will be part of the Ministry of Industry and Trade, while new functions were given to the Ministries of Labor and Environmental Protection. The decree also saw the creation of several new committees.
The scandal around one of the most notorious trials of last year is intensifying with renewed vigor. The high-profile case of ex-judges of the Supreme Court Almas Tashenova and Saylaubek Jakishev received political connotation on Wednesday. The defense made a sensational statement during a special press conference in Astana. According to attorneys, the prosecution of their clients is backed by high-ranking officials. However, lawyers voiced just several names.
The most notorious scandal in the country's judicial system's history resulted in corruption charges against 6 judges of the Supreme Court, including the Supervisory Board chairman, and their further ejection in April of 2012. The senators who took a decision on the court officials' dismissal stated that the national system of justice had never faced such flagrant cases before. The information about the high-ranking judges' involvement in illegal activity was first revealed to the public by the then Financial Police Chief Officer and the current Akhmala Region Administration head, Kairat Kazhamzharov. Supreme Court officials abused power and violated constitutional rights by passing judgments in favor of private individuals, making non-procedural contacts with trial participants to interfere with the investigation and lobbying the fake companies' interests. However, only 2 out of 6 judiciaries eventually found themselves on the dock. The most odious scandal participants, Saylaubek Jakishev and Almas Tashenova, were sentenced to 10 years of imprisonment in June 2012, but only 7 months later the verdict was reversed by the highest court of appeal, and 85 case volumes were sent for reconsideration. The trial jury that initially delivered the guilty verdict resented the case outcome and wrote an open letter to the Supreme Court chairman demanding to affirm the conviction. The motion was immediately followed by a startling statement of the defense lawyers implying the case's political charge. It was attributed to the attempt of the former financial police head, Kairat Kazhamzharov, to score some political points with the president by instigating a high-profile case. The elections resulted in resignation of the government and major ministerial reappointment. For quite some time, Kairat Kazhamzharov could not get confirmation for his assignment for the agency chairman's position, while the new government formation had been completed. That is when he decided to raise the profile of the financial police by instigating a notorious case against the ex-members of the Supreme Court. The chairman of the Specialized Interdistrict Criminal Court of Akhmala Region, Sergei Baymagambetov, joined the ranks of defendants after being charged with embracery by the defense party, who also accused the jury of violation of deliberation secrecy. However, the presiding judge, who once convicted his colleagues, kept denying the guilt. I am not authorized to comment on the matter. You should rather submit a written inquiry to the regional court's media office for any additional information. I heard that they hired a journalist to draw up the publication. It might have been by Moldin. Anyway, I have nothing to do with it. The attempts to contact another lawyer's accusation target the Akhmala Region Administration head, Kairat Kazhamzharov, proved to be unavailing. To get a response, the regional press office representative suggested submitting a written inquiry with a properly formulated question.
The verdict to Janauzian oil workers sentenced for participation in mass riots in 2011 was left unchanged. An appeal was examined regarding 9 people. The next level is the Supreme Court. As soon as the lawyers receive the copy of the judgments, they will send an appeal. Next report has more.
The appeals board meeting over the Zhanauzian riot cases in the Mangistau court began 40 minutes late. Attorneys Batiyeva and Dosbol took the floor first and reported that their 9 clients stated in their letters that they regret taking part in the events leading up to the tragedy on December 16, 2011.
Kazakhstan Respublikası Kılmыстық Kodeksinin 63. babını пайдаланып, şartlı жаза тағайындауыңызды сұранамын. Адвокаттың қорғаушылардың жазған кассациялық шағымдары қанағаттанусыз қалдырылып жатыр.
The tension in the courtroom visibly increased by the break. Many were hoping for a mitigation of terms given last year to oil workers, whose labor strike turned into violent unrests and shootings in Zhanauzian. Alas, that never happened. The decision of the Aktau City Court is upheld. You have the right to appeal the decision in the Supreme Court. The families and attorneys of oilmen indeed plan to exercise their right. Our hopes did not come true, but in the end, I believe my husband will be released. They did not ask for forgiveness. They just wrote that they feel sorry for what happened in Zhanauzian. Now we believe that the authorities will show their good side at the Supreme Court. Observers are not surprised by the regional court decision to uphold the city court verdict. The process of 37 oil workers is considered by the experts politically motivated. The families of convicts believe they still have a chance, since the Supreme Court has recently mitigated the sentence to Shetper village residents, also convicted following the events in Zhanauzian.
Hearing of arguments over the murder of Zhanauzian riots witness Alexander Bazhenko was held on Wednesday. The prosecutor asked 10 years for the defendants to recap Kuat Razabek and Nursultan Toresh are charged on 2 counts of the criminal code: intentional infliction of severe bodily harm resulting in death and robbery committed with causing severe bodily harm which resulted in unintentional death of the victim.
The trial on the case began January 8th and proceeded quite rapidly. During the first and only hearing, your defendants claimed Bazhenko himself initiated the conflict. The victim was found in serious condition near Khan Shatari restaurant in Zhanauzian. He died later in the hospital from inflicted injuries. Alexander Bazhenko received publicity after his testimonies during the Zhanauzian riots case, speaking up about tortures he was subjected to in the temporary detention center.
Searching for Askar Moldashev, the brother of the publishing director of the newspaper Golos Respubliki, Danyar Moldashev. On Wednesday morning, the attorney was not able to meet with her client as he was taken to investigative actions. The defense claims that this is a direct violation of the rights of Moldashev and his attorneys, who are not allowed to monitor the investigation. Details in the next report.
On Wednesday, Askar Moldashev's attorneys raised a rather surprising question of where exactly is their client. The detention center where Moldashev was housed for the last 3 months did not have a clear answer and only explained that the defendant was taken to take part in some investigation procedures. On Wednesday at 10 a.m. I visited the Almaty detention center where my client Askar Moldashev is kept. 1 hour later, I was informed that he was taken to undergo investigation procedures. I want to stress that the presence of an attorney is mandatory in such cases. Danyar Moldashev was planning to visit his brother in jail when he heard the news. The news of additional investigation gave him hope for a positive trial outcome, but Wednesday's development significantly reduced Danyar's optimism. I looked at the trial with positivity, and it seemed that justice could prevail to an extent. If the court sent the case back for additional investigation, then there were indeed some violations, but the recent news set everything back, and I am completely at a loss now, not knowing what to assume. Earlier this week, the court sent the case of Askar Moldashev back to the prosecutor's office of the Almaty's Bostandik district. It seemed that the charges were mitigated and the case required additional investigation, following Moldashev's arrest last year on charges of drug possession with an intention to sell.
The wonderful message Kazakhstan 2050. The representatives of the State Council of Women on Wednesday discussed at a round table the instructions of the President of Kazakhstan and shared their opinion regarding the matter.
The best minds of the National Council of Kazakhstan's women gathered at the round table on Wednesday to develop a plan of disseminating the president's latest message, the so-called strategy Kazakhstan 2050. The aim is not just to clarify the essence of the document, but to channel the energy of its implementation in the right direction. We welcome Nazarbayev's latest message, as our women have always taken the lead during crucial times of the nation's development. The leader of the socially and politically active movement, Nina Kayupova, set the tone of the meeting and said that Nazarbayev's latest message targets every citizen concerned about social development and healthcare in particular. I was deeply moved by the president's words, especially concerning the protection of children's rights. We should do something to make sure every child in Kazakhstan has a family. The rector of Almaty Humanitarian and Technical University, Dina Jusobalieva, has been successfully adopting the reforms in education and trilingualism mentioned in the president's address. Nowadays, everybody has to speak English as it is a language of international communication. Once abroad, our English-speaking students will be able to tell everybody about modern Kazakhstan, its president, and the national economy. Shortly after clarifying the president's latest message, the head of the university department noticed an unprecedented uplift among students. The president's address had a remarkable impact on younger students. We were really surprised when they organized a wonderful poetry reading featuring words of Pushkin and Makataev, and even Shakespeare recitals in 3 languages. But wait, there is more. What's amazing is, after clarifying the president's message, there are no more students wearing headscarves. According to the participants of the roundtable, all of the above mentioned is just a small part of the positive changes triggered by the president's address. It is worth noting that special propaganda teams are already traveling across Kazakhstan to distribute the president's message for the population.
Year 2017 will not be easy for Kazakhstan. Besides the well-known Expo, another image-making event, Winter Student Games, is on the line. But in contrast to the Expo, the financing of the Games have not impressed Kazakhstanis. The organizing committee of the 28th Student Games was forced to increase the prize money and relaunch the contest for the development of the logo, mascot and motto. Details follow.
Following an ambitious and expensive project of the Winter Asian Games in 2011, Kazakhstan received a go-ahead to host the International Winter Students' Games in 2017. The organizers wisely decided to take into consideration all past mistakes and scandals, promising to make the new project fully transparent. It provides for an annual audit committee established by organizers who will publish results in the media, so that implies open accountability. Transparency will certainly be provided in this case. Unfortunately, some problems already occurred at this early stage, as there were not many people willing to take part in the competition for the new logo, mascot, and slogan of the Games. It appears the prize fund of $6,600 had to be tripled, while the organizing committee is already dreaming of building expensive infrastructure for the event, even though the final budget is yet to be approved. Nothing new has been built lately. Everything is from back in the day. Just look at Medeo and Baluan Sholaka. The city is growing, and therefore, by means of these student games, we want to try qualifying for the Winter Olympics. Economic expert Miruet Mahmutova is simply amazed by the ambitious projects of the ruling party. The activist is convinced that the people of Kazakhstan need no global promotion like they do real care of the government. Thus, the budget is better spent on other important economic and social issues. It is a waste of taxpayers' money. It hurts me to listen to such arguments because it's not a matter of some global issues which official Astana wants to be involved with. Instead, it is nothing but a grand feast at the expense of ordinary people. The expert recalls that the country continued hosting international sporting and economic projects even during the crisis. However, the waste of petrodollars to hold the OSCE Summit, Asian Games, and the upcoming Student Olympics and the Expo no longer impressed the West.
Astana state officials constantly talk about Expo. On Wednesday, Vicente González Losartales, the Secretary General of the Bureau International des Expositions, arrived in Astana on Wednesday. The Spaniard arrived to Kazakhstan to congratulate Nursultan Nazarbayev with Expo 2017 and discuss the preparation progress. He also warned Kazakh authorities of typical mistakes.
Some countries completely changed the team once granted the right to host the Expo. Specialists that were involved with the exhibition during the candidacy stage are often replaced with completely new people. This, however, led to a loss of valuable time and institutional memory. The Secretary General also stressed that it is not necessary to pursue the attendance records, prioritizing quality instead. Residents of about 100 countries are expected to visit Astana during the event, and the best example to follow creatively would be Shanghai 2010. For now, though, Kazakhstan has to render 4 reports during the year. In the meantime, the press got a hold of the Deputy Prime Minister Kairat Kelimbetov. However, the official was not specific while answering questions of who will be joining the national company Expo 2017, what is going to happen to company executives after the exhibition, and what measures will be taken to prevent the embezzlement of allocated funds. The company in charge of the Expo will be registered in the nearest future. The country leadership is currently discussing the candidates. I cannot give you any names just yet, but I will do so shortly. We will also develop certain preventive measures, so all involved officials will certainly be liable if something happens. We will make this process as transparent as possible.
Meanwhile, the bad weather is continuing to rage in the regions of the country. On Tuesday night, authorities shut down the highway Western Europe, Western China at the section between Zhambyl and South Kazakhstan regions. The reason is the sudden strong snowstorm that hit the Kuyuk Pass. 2-month norm precipitation is reported in Pavlodar region since the beginning of the week. Due to poor road conditions, around 6 villages or around 3,000 people were cut off from the rest of the country. While in Karaganda region, people were not even able to enter their homes due to severe snow. Weather forecasts in the next report.
Resident of Medsanchast settlement Svetlana has been forced to seek shelter with friends and acquaintances for 4 days now. The woman simply cannot get home as the only road to her village has been blocked up with human-sized snowdrifts. According to Svetlana's fellow villagers reporting the situation over the phone, the local shops have run out of prime necessity goods such as bread, milk and grain. The public transportation has been cut off by severe weather conditions, thus paralyzing over 500 families of Medsanchast village in Abay district of Karaganda region. Village residents have been suffering shortage of bread and other essential goods since the supply channels got blocked. What's even worse is that in case of fire or medical emergency, the rescue teams will not be able to make their way through the snowdrifts. Meanwhile, the housing and municipal service employees state quite the opposite. They assure that the road had been ceaselessly cleared by 3 snow removal vehicles, but the abundant snowfall kept frustrating the efforts. They also emphasize that the only factor causing food supply and public transportation disruption is shortage of labor. To be honest, the tractor and road grader operators are tired. They've been working flat out for 3 days in a row, with no time for lunch and rest. The Bayanaul district of Pavlodar region has also been affected by the disaster. The severe weather outburst resulted in power line breakage at the Janatap station, which provoked a major blackout affecting more than 100 people. At the moment, several dozens of special machinery units are engaged in emergency repair works in the district. The current situation does not qualify as an emergency, as there are no reports of the dead or injured. Special brigades are currently working to reverse the disaster effects. To faster restore communication between the regional center and remote populations, rescue teams had to employ equipment of Ekibastus coal mine. However, the officials choose to hold off on declaring the state of emergency despite a rather pessimistic weather forecast. Meanwhile, no one seems to be able to tell Svetlana when she will finally get home.
Prosecutors of Saragas district of South Kazakhstan region are worried by the increasing juvenile crime rate. School children fight with each other using knives and firearms and even commit murders for financial gain. Prosecutors organize night raids trying to fight the growing number of crimes.
In one of the districts, a teenager is awaiting trial on murder charges. The investigation revealed that the minor killed a taxi driver in cold blood for some money. Another crime resulted in 2 minors wounded at school, making one permanently disabled. In the last 2 months alone, teenagers committed 5 serious crimes, with 7 juveniles now awaiting trial in a temporary detention facility. We ordered to dismiss principals of 4 schools along with several head teachers and supervising instructors. 4 more school principals took sick leave to avoid punishment. Therefore, currently we cannot take any measures against them.
In Almaty, journalists witnessed the filming of movies for children. Authors decided to repeat the success of the well-known Russian film magazine Yeralash by slightly changing the name for Yerkelash. Next report is from the set.
Yerkelash show, filmed on location, is a Kazakh version of the popular Russian TV sketch compilation series Yeralash. Unlike the Russian project, though, the Kazakh show features only one central character, a 10-year-old rebel, Meirbek, who neglects schoolwork and ignores adults, thus setting up the ensuing hilarity. The showrunner, Eduard Tabishev, has no idea where the project will take its characters next, as the script is written on the go. Yeralash is a show we grew up with. It is good Soviet ideology. I wanted to create something similar, although with a touch of its own flair and present-day impact. The name of the show is also similar to Yeralash. Tabishev, who admittedly has a poor command of the state language, chose the title himself, although he is not certain if it'll stick. I will probably change the name when I learn Kazakh properly. The showrunner plans to release 2 versions of The Misadventures, in TV short miniseries format and as a feature film. The only outstanding problem is sponsorship, as the crew is essentially working for free now. Daulet Abdigaparov is an actor of the youth theater and is glad to change his hard-boiled type for a turn in comedy series. The director called us and we all accepted the roles and agreed to work for free. It is all for the development of children's movies. Actor Yerbalat Peguzakov found fame after starring in Shal. Yerkelash producers were impressed with his acting skills and invited to play the role of a school principal. This is a pilot, and we cannot guarantee that it will continue unless we will find the money. We want to help and promote the movies for kids, as they are our main audience. Farhad Abdurrahimov, a renowned film critic, believes it is hard to find new ideas for children's movies, but says the rich legacy of Soviet film history can be of help. This has nothing to do with plagiarism. It is quite common. Just look at other TV shows and you'll see they're all being copied. If there are no ideas for new projects, why not take an old one and add something fresh? I think there is nothing wrong with it. The Yerkelash pilot is slated for release on Kazakhstan's TV this June, in time for the International Children's Day.
This is all for now. Thank you for watching. Stay well.